All right, welcome everyone. I'm Alexa Bigwarf, host of the Women in Publishing Summit. We're so excited to bring you another wonderful contributor. If you were participating in last year's summit, you may recognize our wonderful Angela Ford. She is someone I just cannot help myself from inviting every time I do everything to participate because she's fun, she's adorable, and she has so much good information, and I just enjoy speaking with you. So thank you for being with us again, Angela.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be back once again.
Yes, well, what's fun with you is that you are continually producing new content and doing things, and anybody in the industry knows that marketing techniques and all these things they change drastically. And you have, how many books did you put out this year?
I've been on a schedule doing 3 books a year. So this
Right.
year again, I did two brand new ones, and then I did a box set. So I
Awesome.
guess it counts as one, but so yeah, 3 new books.
Well, that's great because the thing about that too is that now you have a new perspective of adding all these extra books and what all of that is. So we're going to dig into some of that. But first, I want to just tell you a little bit about Angela in case you have no idea who she is. She's the author of the Four Worlds series, which is a fantasy series. She's also a book launch strategist. She's passionate about helping authors and bloggers do more work they love by helping them through their book marketing. So she loves to write, she loves to read, and she loves to drink coffee. She's one of us, y'all. She's one of us. So, um, okay.
Yes.
Exactly. I've got my hot tea here, hoping that the hot tea and honey is going to help my voice settle down at some point, but you might get to do most of the talking today. It's interesting, Angela, because so the Four World series is a fantasy series. These epic fantasies that take it blows my mind that you can put out one, let alone three a year. But you know what I realized as I was preparing for our interview today? I've never actually asked you to tell us about the books as a whole series. I think you told me about the one that you were writing at the time. But for anybody who's interested, before we get into all your marketing and your author tips and everything, will you just let people know what it is that your series is about, what you write about, so that you can get some new fans as well on that side?
Oh yeah, thank you. So the Four Worlds is it takes place in a fantasy world that has 4 different main continents. And so the first book takes place in one, and then the second takes place in the Eastern world, and the last 2 books take place in the South world. And there is a spin-off series that focuses on the North world, and that is coming soon. I'm working on that right now. It's all in my head, but that will be coming up. But the Four Worlds really chronicles the tales of these warriors that are fighting to take their homeland back because there's this evil that's growing up. It has a great power. People are being transformed into these awful, terrible creatures. There's a lot of raiding and pillaging going on. So really is this whole fight for freedom and coming together just in a very classic fantasy way. My inspirations for it were Lord of the Rings, Brian Jakes and the Redwall series, and Chronicles of Narnia. So there's a little bit of those fun elements in there, as well as the war and like kind of the hard and heavy, like deep sadness that's going on there as well. And I also like to include a little bit of romance in the books, more so in the last 2 than in the first 2, but that's also in there as well.
Could that be because there's been more romance in your personal life in the last 2 years?
There definitely has been. And yeah,
Angela
I
just
think
got
that's
engaged, so we're super
yeah,
excited for
I
her.
did. It's really exciting.
Um,
Uh, so I think that helped as well, just focusing in on relationships and really good, strong relationships, even though there's conflict going on in the world and even though people have their goals. There's just one couple in the last 2 books that I really want to focus on because they both have their different goals in life, but then they realize when they come together and focus on things as a unit and as a whole and kind of putting the we into their relationship, they could get a lot further than when they're off trying to like lead their own armies and kind of do things on their own. So that's also like a important message that I wanted to bring forth in my books, kind of that unity and come together and the diversity. But when we come together, we all have different strengths. We all have different weaknesses. And so we focus on the strength and kind of leave our weaknesses behind. That kind of helps with the unity and making things happen. So that really is the message, the underlying message of the series that goes along with the entertainment portion of it.
Well, I love that. And so, you know, you have done a really good job of not only pumping out these books, but like really marketing them and learning the ins and outs of the marketing. And I think this is one of the areas that few authors are really prepared for when they launch their book. Let's talk about with that first book, especially for the people who are listening today that are just thinking about, or maybe have started writing their first book. And fiction, nonfiction, marketing is marketing, really. When it comes down to it, obviously there will be some different tactics for fiction book and a different audience for a fiction book. And even within the genres of fiction, there's different audiences and all of that. But in general, at what point was it that you realized as a first-time author that marketing had to be a major focus? Was it something you knew about ahead of time or something you realized after lunch?
Actually, the whole marketing piece was something that I was very aware of even before I started writing my second draft of the book, because I worked with entrepreneurs who were releasing their book and launching their book. And I was looking at what they were doing, and I realized that immediately I had a disadvantage because I did not have a platform. I did not have an audience. I did not have people that were going to review the book. I had nothing. Mm-hmm. And so that was really eye-opening to realize that starting out as a first-time author, there's a lot of groundwork that I have to do before I get that book out and before it really starts selling well and becoming something that I can rely on as that other income stream. Yeah. And so I started working on that actually before the book came out. I think my launch plan started about 30 days before launch, and it just kind of depends on how quickly you can get everything in a row. Mm-hmm. I do a lot of technical stuff. So it was a lot easier for me to put up my website and build my email list, kind of put together the techie elements of it. But if you're not good at tech and it's going to take you more time, I definitely would recommend giving yourself more time if you can't do things on the fly and have to hire people to do it for you. Right. So yeah, like marketing's massive, and it's definitely something that should be started before the book comes out.
But don't let that scare you, because there are a lot of small things that you can do. And there are a lot of really fun things that you can do. One of the things, I have two questions that I'm going to ask Angela here, and I don't know which one I want to go with first. So I'll ask you both questions and you can answer how you want to. But Angela is fun to watch because she always, she always does a really fantastic job of outside of the box marketing. When I interviewed her last year, we talked about a candle company that she had connected with, and how they were able to use candles to help her promote her book, which I thought was so cool. But so there's, outside of the box marketing techniques that you've used, and I'd love to hear what you're doing now. But then the second question that comes along is, you know what, I'm just going to go with that one first and then I'll come back because they're big questions.
Okay. So outside of the box marketing techniques, my focus really still is on the book swag and kind of having a personalized experience for readers. So whether that's creating a book candle or having like a little package that I put together, that includes an autograph book, some bookmarks, something else that's fun and exciting for them. I've been thinking about doing coffee mugs or t-shirts or just something else that has a more personalized element and something that they can't get when they go online and shop. Like on Amazon, they can get the paperback, and yeah, it's not autographed, but they can get it there, or they can get the hardcover, but just something else that adds a different element to it. And that really is I think that's the biggest thing that I focus on right now. And then every now and then I'm not doing a good job with this and I actually need to kind of refocus, but it's focusing in on the reader group. So having a fan club for all of my readers, my super fans to go to so they can see all my books. But one of the things that I started doing last year was read-alongs. And so I would take a chapter, pick a book, and then go through a chapter a day and just kind of talk about it, and they could join in and discuss and add their thoughts and opinions. And that was a lot of fun. And that's something that I actually need to do a little bit more, because it was a good way of getting people to be involved, get invested in the book, to finish reading it, to actually talk through the deeper themes of it. And then also I did giveaways I think I did them every single week, because my books are, at least 50 chapters. So that's a lot of reading. That's quite a few weeks to go through.
Yeah.
And then some people, of course, they read it a lot faster, they get done, and then they're just kind of like chiming in every day, because they have some really good thoughts, and they have some deeper thoughts now that they've finished the book. But that's also something that's outside of the box, but that's a good way to keep your fans engaged, if you have the time for that. And it doesn't have to be a daily read along. If you have once a week to get on Facebook Live and go into a group or put together a video, you can pre-record a video and send it to a fans, but just something that makes them feel more special and gives them a reason to be on your email list or subscribe to your content or coming back to you, instead of relying just on either Amazon or like BookBub to send out those new release alerts. It's something a little bit deeper, more intentional, that they can't get anywhere else.
I'm glad you brought up the email list, because this is something I've really been harping on with my audience, is how important it is and how well authors do utilizing an email list. So one, would you agree? Do you think that your email list does definitely result in more sales? And can you talk to us a little bit more about like how frequently you communicate with them, how you've grown it, and some different email tactics?
So number one, absolutely, email list definitely contributes to sales. Like, I know if my sales are low, if I send an email to my email list, it doesn't matter if I've told them about the book a million times already. I send it to the list and they're like, oh yeah, okay, today's the day I'm actually going to go buy it, and sales go up. Like, I don't know why, but every time they go up. So the email list, that's something I started building about 30 days before I launched my first book. This is back in fall of 2015. And so I started there. I started with the giveaway. I just gave away an Amazon gift card, and people could have various ways of entering. One of them was to opt into my email list, and they did that. And so that started the growing period. And those people were okay, but they weren't what I would call quality subscribers,
right?
Because they were really interested in that free gift card.
Right.
And so what I ended up doing was starting to do more author or more book-centric giveaways. And so I started saying, hey, like, I will give away these books if you opt into my email list. Or I started doing let's see what the other giveaways that I did, but just different giveaways that are more focused on they win books and they win fantasy books, because that's something in my genre. And so I would definitely recommend, as authors, if you're doing a giveaway, focus in on something that will help your reader and help them become more of a loyal reader, instead of something that is very generic, because everybody wants an Amazon gift card, but that doesn't mean that they are a reader.
Right.
So one of the other things I started doing was also trying to get new fans and people that are really interested in my books. And so I wrote a short story that's about 10,000 words and used that as a free giveaway for people. And so I uploaded that on BookFunnel, which is what I use for my delivering free ebooks. So I uploaded that and started giving that away, and that really helps with growing the email list. And there are also a lot of different promos that you can join as an author that help to get the word out there. People are sharing those promos with their email list, and that brings new subscribers. And so for a while there, I was getting, I think, about 1,000 new subscribers every single month.
Wow.
And not all of those. Yeah, it was massive. I mean, not every single last one of those people stayed, but that was kind of like what was coming in. And so that really helped to build up my email list and get it to a 10K list. And then after that, it's all about making sure I'm communicating and sending out quality content to my subscribers. I do share a lot of other book deals, because there are a lot of other fantasy authors that have books that are similar to mine. So I like to tell them about it. And I must admit, I am a heavy lifter email. I email every single week. I send them out something. And it's because I have something to say. Like, it's not like a rule. It's not a hard and fast. Like, you send an email when you have something to say. I would recommend at least once a month, but there's no need to do every single week unless you have something every single week.
I think it's interesting, before you continue on, I'm really glad that you just said what you said about you send other books that are similar to your books. And I want to talk about this just for a second because, I've heard some authors even say that they didn't want to even like endorse a book that was similar to theirs because they were working on a book that would be just like that. And I'm so glad that you have said what you just said. And that is because people that love that genre or are interested, I mean, it doesn't have to be fiction. Let's think about self-help. Let me tell you how many books on becoming more healthy or autoimmune issues or organization or blogging or writing books or like of these genres that I have bought numerous books. And then fiction books, if I find a genre that I like, I want to read everything like it, right? So I love the fact that you, one, are not afraid to promote other people who have similar books to you, and two, that you do that because there's not a scarcity issue here. Like people are not going to not buy your book because you recommended another book similar to it. And I want that to be like, I want to spend a moment just talking about that because so many people are so scared to do something like that because if they go buy Sheila's book that's like similar, then they're not going to come buy my book. And that's not true. And you can attest to that.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it takes readers no time at all to read a book that they're very interested in. Like, I will spend months slaving over a book and I'll send it out and people will read it. And the next day they'll email me and be like, oh, great, I loved it. What's next? And I'm like, oh, I just spent months working on that. Okay. Like, there's going to be nothing new for like quite a few months. And so how about you read something that's similar to it by some other authors that I know that are great? And so there's always something. And this is true for the fiction world and the nonfiction world. Like there's so many different books. Like I try to focus on improving my writing. Like with every single book, I want to make sure I'm learning and growing and challenging myself. And so I buy books about writing, and Amazon will recommend like 4 books about writing. And guess what? I'm going to buy all of them because they all have something that's slightly different to say. Even though there may be some overlap and some similarities. And so I think that's really important. And like, regardless of the storyline or the instruction that's going into the book, you have, as an author, you have a unique spin on it that no one else has, even though there are similarities. So yeah, never be afraid to also market other people's books. It really helps.
Well, and I think then they're a lot more likely to turn around and say, hey, I've noticed this author recommending my books. Should they even find out? I mean, I know for a fact that you've told me in the past you do newsletter swaps and you coordinate with other authors that are similar. So, but I scratch your back, you scratch your back. It always like turns out good for you. If somebody notices that you're sending, or somebody says, hey, this author told me I should read your books. I love your books now, and I think you should check her out too. I mean, it's just kind of like when you smile somebody, it makes them smile too, I mean, there's room for everybody. I promise you.
There sure is. And the other thing is that Amazon has a recommendations engine. And so they have the what's called also bots. But so when you're on Amazon, you're browsing through, Amazon tries to personalize things for you. And if you're looking at a certain book, will say like, hey, like you also might be interested in these books. And when they say that, it's because that people are buying, like people that have bought this book also went on to buy these other 5 to 10 books as well. And so they want you to know that. And so that really benefits you as an author when you are recommending other people's books. If it's a similar fit, then Amazon's just going to start recommending your book along with everyone else's to these people that are buying those books. So you definitely, you actually want to recommend books because it only helps you sell more books.
That's a great point. Well, one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about and to have you provide some tips or some insight to the audience is about what happens when you start publishing multiple books. So I don't know how you want to do this. If you want to walk us through like audience size and book sales, you don't have to give us specific numbers if you don't want to, but I know a lot of people will publish their first book and they're thinking, wow, okay, I just worked really hard to do that and sales aren't quite where I want to be. And I hear a lot that the way to sell more books is to write more books and write more books and write more books. And I would just, from someone who has now put out, how many do you have total?
I think it's 7, I think.
Plus the box set or with the box set?
With
Either
the
way,
box set, yes.
you are definitely in the two-hand category of numbers of books out there. So one, is this true that the more books you write, I would imagine marketing gets easier along the way, but that sales, do you see a bump in sales on all your other books every time you release a new book? And how have you seen your sales and your platform grow with the next launch of each book?
So yes, like the more books, the better. Like it's really nice. And every time I do release a book, I can always count on I'm going to pull in a new audience that maybe hasn't read all of my other books. And so I will see a bump in sales like across all of my books, even like some of the standalones. So what I'm finding that is really popular right now is um, series are really popular and completed series are popular because readers, and this is true for the fiction world, um, just because readers really want to read something that is complete and that is done. And so if you're putting out your first book, whether that's fiction or nonfiction, if it has other books that go with it, readers are more likely to buy when that whole series is complete, or the books along a similar topic for nonfiction are complete. And I will say that first books are hard because you put it out there and it's your first book, and people kind of know that it's your first book because they can't find anything else by you. And so they have to take a chance on it. And if you haven't built up your audience yet, then finding those new people to take a chance on it can be difficult. And so it's much easier once you have more books out, because now you have that authority and people say like, oh, okay, like this is a serious author. They have this many books out. And so I'm going to go ahead and start reading them. And I think the first time I actually saw a really nice bump in sales was when I published my second book. People all of a sudden they realized that like, oh, okay, like she is going somewhere with this. There is a second book that's out. And so they started buying the first book so they could read the second book. And the people that had already bought the first book, they were now going to buy the second book as well. So that was really nice. But once the series was complete, like sales really skyrocketed, and the box set I really set at a very low price. So that was a great deal. And that sold thousands of copies. Just because it was great, just because it was something that it was complete and it was done. And so my advice to writers is just keep writing and keep putting out those books, and really just focus on kind of building up your platform and having a variety of books. And there's a group on Facebook that I follow a little bit. It's called 20 Books to 50K. But really the whole ideal is, like if you want to start making $50,000 a year from writing, you need to have at least 20 books out. And I mean, that's not true. You don't have to have 20 books out to make 50K. You can have fewer than that. But it's just really focusing in on the mindset. Like, don't just publish one book and say, okay, I did it. Where's my money? I can't live off of my books yet. It's really is something you have to be in it for the long haul. You have to have the patience and the diligence just to keep going and keep working and just to keep building. I think the hardest thing that I discovered after I published my first book was trying to figure out how to do consistent marketing for it without burning out the audience that I already had. So just keep those fillers reaching out for new people. And it's a lot easier now because I focus in on ads a lot, and that brings in a new audience. But there definitely is a learning curve. And if you don't want to learn it, then you have to be able to pass it on to someone else that you hire to run all of those things for you, which is totally possible. I mean, even now I do marketing, but every time I do a launch, I usually hire someone else to help me because I can't do it all.
It is a lot of work. And I think this is also something that people coming into the process brand new don't really get a good feel for until they're a little bit farther into the process. So I would say if you're a new writer or newer in or just still writing your book, and you've said, I'll think about marketing and all of that stuff when I'm done writing your book. I think Angela and I would both be in complete agreement when we say, let's start thinking about that a lot earlier, actually, because it's a lot, but you can start doing things 15 to 20 minutes a day to help you grow your audience, to help you grow that platform, to start looking for other authors in your genre that might be willing to partner with you and and all that kind of stuff, and start building up a little bit before. Now I have a question, unless you want to add anything to that. I have a question about, you mentioned complete series and people really wanting to get the next book in the series and all of that. If you had to do it again, would you still go back and launch the first book all by itself, or would you continue the kind of the audience teasing and audience growth, and then launch like maybe books 1 and 2, or 1, 2, and 3 in either rapid succession or at the same time? Have you ever even thought about that?
Oh, I have thought about that. And I think I would still, like, if I could go back, I don't think I would change anything. There might be some tiny things I would change, but not too much, because I learned a lot from that process.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now if I have a book series and I release them, like if I just drop them all at once, like that will be just a massive income, because people already know me. I've already built up my audience. They know what my work is like. They know my writing style. And so there's no hesitation to go in and just snatch it right up. But I do like that whole rapid release ideal. And so I'm working on a series that I'm going to write the entire thing and have it completely done. It's going to take me a while to do that. But and then I'm going to do a rapid release where I think it's just going to be 3 books, I think. But they all come out like at the same time or within 30 days of each other, just to really up the revenue on that. And I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you're getting to the point where you're selling enough books now that you can do that. Whereas a brand new author who's trying to make a living as a writer is probably like, I just need to release them as soon as, when I can. So I can't wait for books 2 and 3, especially if it's a 3 to 4, 5, 6 month long process to write one. I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
Right. Well, I definitely agree with that. And as a writer, like, it's kind of hard to become a full-time writer without having that massive backlist of books.
Yeah.
And so I would recommend that. I mean, you really have to have the funds to market it. And I am not like a full-time author. I could be, but like, I'm not, just because I like to have the other revenue streams and they're a lot of fun. But I think it's helpful because when it comes to marketing, I'm able to do a lot more because I'm not relying on books to make all the income. And I have other income streams. And so I'm like, oh, okay, like if I want to spend, $1,000 taking this course on ads, I can do that. Right. Because I have other income streams, and it's not going to be like, yikes, like if I take this course, like I can't pay rent. Yikes.
Right.
Like it's more of fueling my education. So that's very helpful. And I would say definitely like keep your other income streams so that you can do some of the upfront funding that needs to happen for the books. And then you have time to do the marketing and fund the marketing if needed. There are a lot of different resources that are available and different free ways that you can market your book, social media being like the number one free way to market your book. But I am finding that the more, like, I get a better return on investment if I actually spend money to make money. And that actually has been much better. And it's been easier now. Like, I know that I can turn on ads and I can run them and go back and refresh them like once a week, or take a look at them once a week or every other week, and I'll be making money, versus if I try to make sure that I take my picture and get it up on Instagram every single day, and I don't know if I'm going to make a sale from that or not. Like, I've kind of let go of the things that require me to put in a lot of time and energy, but I can't see the immediate return on investment.
Right.
Just because, again, I don't have time for every single thing. And I think that's something that's really important as authors. Like, we need to be writing. We don't have time to do all of the things. And there are a lot of great things out there. So we really have to prioritize and choose, okay, what's the most important thing that I can do to get my books out there, and focus on those 1 to 2 things. And then for everything else, we can hire, we can outsource, or just do something else to keep the marketing going.
Absolutely. You mentioned using some marketing tools and things like that. What are some of your favorite promo sites or tools that you use beyond Amazon ads, which you mentioned? Are there other sites that you like to use?
Yeah, so one of the things I do like to use, I love using BookFunnel really for growing my email list. And so BookFunnel it allows me to upload my ebook, and then from there I can connect it to my email list, and then I can join different promos for my genre. And they have all kinds of genres in there, so it's not just something that's specific to fantasy. But once I do that, then I can join those promos, I can market those promos to my email list, and then on social media, and then I'm getting new subscribers that are coming in. And so that's something good because I definitely want to keep growing my email list so I can reach out to those people and say, hey, like I have a new book that's out. You can buy it. Here's my entire list of books. You know, you should buy all of them. And
Absolutely.
then, yeah, I can focus on, personalizing things for them and just really having a good brand that's not just exclusively focused on, okay, like Amazon and selling more on Amazon.
Right.
So that's great. There are a couple other places or things that I use that are kind of more exclusively fantasy, but I think the really important thing is just finding your niche and just finding a group of people to really support you. I think that's the most helpful thing, because then you can kind of like talk. I love different Facebook groups because you can talk about different ideals and get different suggestions from people. And there's always something that I haven't thought about that's being talked about. So that's very helpful.
It's so true. All right. I want to talk a little bit about, before we wrap this up, I want to talk about the fact that you took your books and put them into a bundle, a box set. What was that process like? And what publishing arm did you use to do that? Did you do that through Amazon, or did you use Kobo or something else for your box set?
Yeah, so for the box set, I think the number one thing I was really worried about was formatting, because I do all of my formatting myself. And I was so stressed because I was like, if I put 4 books together in one, there's no way I can do that in a Word document, because it's like 1,600 pages.
Oh my gosh.
I was so stressed. So thankfully there is a software called Vellum, and I think right now it's just for like, if you have a MacBook, you can use it. But you download it, I think it's either like $250 or $350 or something like that. And it's so simple. You just import your Word document, and it just like spits out like your layout. It has all the chapters. You can just drag and drop things into place. It's beautiful. And so that was simple and easy. And I think I spent maybe a day like figuring, like just playing with different layouts. And then I just hit the button and it spit out the Kindle version, the which is .mobi, the EPUB version, like all the different versions that I needed. And so what I ended up doing with that box set, like I had my designer make a cover for it, and I just did the upload on Amazon, just because the print version is way too big for print. And so I'm trying to figure out, I'll probably go through Ingram at some point and try to do a print version. I'm not sure what their limit is on print, but if I can like get the words down, maybe I can get a print version of it out, and that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, just Amazon. My books are actually exclusively in Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing program, KDP Select, I think that's what it's called. And so it's just because I actually make a lot more if people can not only buy the book, but they also read it, and I get paid for those page reads. And so that's very helpful. I tried to be on every single platform, and I found that it didn't work well for me because I couldn't market effectively on every single platform. Well, Kobo is amazing, so I definitely want to get back on Kobo in the future. But
you should try Publish Drive too if you've never heard of them. They're really, really, really good. I'll send you some information.
Yes.
They just hit China and are distributing a lot of ebooks very, very widely globally right now. So they're super hot.
That's so awesome. And that's actually it's really awesome that you mentioned that, because that's one of my long-term plans is, I definitely want some books to be exclusively on Amazon, but then I have a couple series in mind that I want to be available everywhere where people can buy books.
Yeah.
And so I think it'll be good to just have both of those going. Like that would be excellent.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, as usual, you've provided us with so much information. I love catching up with you every year because you always have new like ideas and insights on what's happening. I love the fact that you stay really on top of not just what's happening as an author, but that you're also really involved in the marketing side and can really, share some insights onto what is hot, what's not. But is there anything else that you would like to, on this topic, share with anyone? Obviously, where people can go for more information on your books and your marketing services.
Yeah, so I think the thing that's going to change a little bit in the future is that there's going to be more of a focus on advertising. And
Mhm.
so I think it'd be really smart for authors, especially if you're new, is just learn a little bit about advertising, kind of wrap your head around it, know how to go through the motions and the steps and what you need to do, and learn a lot about targeting too.
Yeah.
Targeting and keywords. I think that's going to be very important. It's a future for authors. And so that's what I recommend doing. And as for me, I rebranded a little bit. So my websites are angelajford.com and angelajfordmarketing.com.
Okay, so you've got
But
two separate sites now.
I do. But you can go to either one and kind of reach all of the things. One is books, but you can find out how to get to the marketing side from either one. So that's it.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing and coming back again and answering all my questions. And hopefully you'll be back again next year
I hope so.
with
This
at
has
least
been
three more books.
wonderful.
That's
Yes, of
awesome.
course. Thank you so much.
Thank you.